We live?
We are right now, yes.
Good evening. I'd like to open this meeting of the Planning Board for March 8, 2021, 7 p.m. via Zoom and YouTube. And if we could get the roll call vote of members in presence.
Sure thing. Leo Pisano,
Yeah.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
Cheyenne Rangel. She informed me prior to the meeting that she will not be able to make it. George D'Angelo,
Here.
James Tarr, Phil Mastrocola.
Yeah.
And Chairman Cafaso.
Present. Can we have the first order of business, please?
Do you want me to read the
Yes.
preliminary spiel?
Yeah, disclaimer first. I'm sorry.
You got it. In response to Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency and the related emergency executive order dated March 12, 2020, Everett Planning Board shall be meeting remotely until further notice. The audio conferencing application Zoom will be used for this purpose. An online link and telephone access number will be provided on all meeting agendas and also on the city's website. No in-person attendance of the members or the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. This application will permit the public to access and participate in future board meetings and hearings. Instructions for joining meetings in this manner will be provided on the city and city clerk's websites. We extend our thanks for your understanding and participation in this matter, which is intended to keep members of the board and the public safe. And before I move on to agenda item number 1, Mr. Cafaso, because Cheyenne is not here, we would move to an alternate, and I think James.
We only have one tonight.
What's that?
We only have one alternate here tonight.
Yeah, so, James is in the, or Jim is in the waiting room, but he's about to. He just keeps coming in and out, and I think he's here now. But anyway.
Well, we'll select Philip tonight because we
Yeah.
had James last time.
All righty. So Phil
Is that-
Mastrocola, for the purposes of this meeting, is a
Thank you.
member. And now, Mr. Chairman, item number 1, this is old business. This is a site plan review for 2nd and Vine Street. This is a proposed.
Matt?
Yes, Robin.
Excuse me, before we move on, if James has joined, can we just have the chair introduce him since he wasn't in the roll call? So folks know he's on the call and who he is.
Hello.
Are you here, James? James Tarr is here, the alternate member.
Okay, just so everyone watching knows who the board members are who are here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this is a proposal. This is site plan review, 2nd and Vine Street. A proposal to demolish the existing structures on the premises located at 12 and 24 Vine Street and 337 to 349 2nd Street, Everett, Mass. To construct a new 6-story building with 320 residential units, of which 16 are proposed to be affordable, with approximately 4,000 square feet of ground floor retail space along with a parking garage. The premises is bounded by 2nd Street, Boston Street, Vine Street, and 3rd Street, and is designated by the Assessor's Department as parcels numbers K05-000067, K05-000068, and K05-000176, and is located in the Commercial Triangle Economic Development District. This matter is continued from October 13th, 2020. And before we start this, the attorney that is representing the applicant for this project, Joanna Schneider, she reached out to me Friday evening and requested a continuance until the March 22nd meeting. This is to grant their team sufficient time to go over, or their civil and transportation consultants to go over and work through the peer review comments that our peer reviewers submitted to them. So that's all I have. I'm having difficulty hearing you, Mr. Cafaso. I don't know if anyone else is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
can.
I can't
I
hear.
can't hear. Is he speaking? Freddie, you're on mute. Oh, never mind. I still can't hear him.
Yeah, no, Mr. Cafaso, you're not on mute, but I cannot hear you.
Hear me?
Yes.
Very clearly.
Okay. Whatever happened, but here I am. The chair will entertain a motion for continuance.
Make a motion for continuance for site plan review for Second and Vine Street until March 22nd via Zoom.
Is that 7 PM?
Excuse me?
7 PM?
7 PM.
Thank you.
Thank
Second the
you.
motion.
Second,
Second the motion.
seconded to continue Second and Vine Street project until March 22nd, 7 PM via Zoom. Roll call vote.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Bill Mastrocola,
yes,
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes. Motion is granted to continue. Next order, please.
Thank you. Next order of business, Mr. Chairman, is item number 2 under old business. This is a site plan review for 48 Nickel Street, which is a proposal for redevelopment, including the demolition of an existing single-family house and the construction of a new 3-story, 6-unit residential building located at 48 Nickel Street, that being a parcel of land referenced by Assessor's Department as M0-08-000178. This matter is continued from November 10th, 2020. I have received no further correspondence from the applicant.
The applicant is not in the chair here somewhere, not in the Zooming. Therefore, can't ask for continuance. I mean, he's not here.
Can we table this motion to take it off the agenda?
I would not recommend that because
Okay.
the timeline for filing a decision will start to run if you close the public hearing. Perhaps one more continuance and maybe Matt can reach out and figure out if it's going to go forward, if there'll be a withdrawal or what have you, but I would recommend one more continuance.
Having that, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for continuance, the site plan review for 48 Nickel Street until March 22nd, 7 PM via Zoom.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to continue 48 Nickel Street to March 22nd, 7 PM via Zoom. Roll call vote, please.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Philip Mastrocola,
yes,
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, motion is continued. Next order, please.
Next order of business, Mr. Chair, is item number 3 under old business. This is a site plan review for 141-151 Bow Street. This is a proposal to site plan review and special permit for 141-151 Bow. This is a proposal to convert a portion of an existing structure into 6 residential apartment units. The property at 141-151 Bow Street, Everett, Mass. is a parcel located in the Lower Broadway multifamily residential district and that is currently occupied by 2 industrial buildings. The applicant, DAG Realty Trust, proposes to convert the second floor of the existing structure located at 151 Bow Street, containing 5,625 square feet, from a vacant space into 6 residential apartments. The 6 units will be comprised of 4 2-bedroom and 2 1-bedroom units, and the interior of the building will be completely renovated as part of the proposal. The premises is approximately 57,425 square feet and is currently home to 4 commercial tenants and is designated as assessor's parcel number H0-03-00046. This matter is continued from January 11th, 2021.
The proponent here.
Paul, you're on mute.
so,
Hello?
Sorry, I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Attorney Paul Delory, representing the applicant. Mr. Chairman, through you to members of the board, we were on Zoom at the last planning board meeting. We made our presentation. I won't take the time to go back over it, but if I recall, the board asked that we put this over to this meeting so that you could entertain any comments from the department heads prior to voting on this. And again, I'd have to defer to Matt as to any comments received at this point.
Yep. So the comments that I received were from the building department with Mr. Michael Desmond. He just gave them to me written down. He said that he did a site plan or a site visit on March 3rd, 2021, and it was observed that several items required by previous planning board approvals have not been complied with including but not limited to the following. Number one is that the site has no landscaping, which was required per the approval of the September 14th, 2017 meeting, that the parking layout is not very well defined as numerous spaces are blocked by concrete barriers and some appear to be stacked parking, which would require the movement of other vehicles. And then number three is that the required fire lane does not appear to exist.
I can respond in a couple of ways. This goes back over several years, back in 2017, when the brewery, which was then down the road, came in. And in fact, we're joined tonight by the architect, John Crowell, who was involved back then. And John, feel free to come in on this. You have to sort of separate this site, that the site where this building is being proposed is really somewhat detached from the brewery parking lot. So for example, these Jersey barriers as part of the renovation and proposal will be moved, and it'll actually create a 20-foot fire lane there, which if you look at the 2017 decision, I wasn't involved in it, but I read it today, and that was one of the things that they wanted to have created. So clearly there'll be a 20-foot fire lane passage. In addition to that, this proposal is going to create sidewalks along the building, which will be a 4-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot planting bed, which is another proposal that they wanted in 2017. And as far as parking goes, as we had mentioned to you in the last meeting, there is adequate parking, which will be along the side of the lot. So that if you turned in from Bow Street and came down along the side of this building, that's really the area that this building is concerned with. And all of that will be upgraded. There'll be lined parking, there'll be a sidewalk put in, there'll be a 20-foot fire lane, and also there'll be landscaping beds provided to dress up that area, as well as exterior lighting. So this is a very big parking lot. There's a number of different uses down there, but as to this particular portion of the lot, that will be completely upgraded to address each one of Mr. Desmond's concerns.
I have one question, Mr. Delory.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand you were not involved in that previous site plan or whatever decision was made in 2017. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So now they've had 4 years and nothing has been addressed.
If
And
I
the
may,
first-
sir,
My name is
the
Chairman Cafaso.
Chairman Cafazzo, John Kroll, the architect for
Yes,
as you know, down the road brewery basically went defunct and was taken over by Aeronaut Brewery. We came before this board last fall and presented a similar plan and time frame for the completion of all those objects by Aeronaut in place of Down the Road Brewery. And we got approval last fall for a new timeline. And in fact, in the decision that was written last fall, it said that they would be granted the ability to reopen the tasting room and that it would be revisited this spring as to the final timeline for all the rest of the site work.
all right. So in other words, you were granted a continuance so that all these criteria can be met. Is that correct?
In essence, that basically you guys reset the timetable that last fall was the beginning of year one.
Hi.
Did you ever get, Mr. Kroll, did you ever get, excuse me, Mr. Delory,
Yes.
did they ever get a site plan review approval for that property down there back in 2017?
Yes. Yes, there was.
You sure of that?
Its site plan approval was September 14th, 2017. That was the date of the decision, Leo.
Okay, very good. Okay. I just remember we had a lot of problems down there granting that. And I know there was a lot of concessions given,
Right.
and some of them were picked up by the brewery. Some were supposed to be picked up by DAG Realty.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So
so- and-
if the question is then, if you have a site plan review already, why are you back with another, looking for another one?
Because this particular site plan is a different part of that parking lot. In other words, this piece, if you turn in from Bow Street and go the length of that building until you get into where the brewery is, it's somewhat of a separate area entirely. So this area is going to be completely upgraded. That doesn't affect or eliminate the obligation of the brewery to do the rest of it over that time period. But this is just sort of a new use there and a complete upgrade of that section. So that's what that would be. I mean, one of the reasons I might add that from 2017, if you recall, is a very untimely death of the proprietor of that brewery. And just by the time it went through his estate, one thing led to another, and then somebody else took it over. So that's when Mr. Kroll went in and they were able to reset the timetable. And there's been ongoing discussions about what's going to come first and how they're going to do it. But this particular section of that lot, which is a significant size lot, is kind of separate and apart, and this will be completely upgraded.
Okay, because I remember that project well back then. As a matter of fact, I think we had to actually have a special meeting just to grant the brewery a site plan review down there because you had ordered a lot of equipment that was sitting in the truck and you had nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
So we had to have a special meeting just to grant them a site plan review. And that's when all of these conditions came into play. And again, as they point out, here we are now, and they're still not done, though we did grant an extension on it because the brewery was having a problem. And we're not going to go down there and disturb it, which seems to be a pretty good business, just with some details, but they need to be corrected. So you're right, though, Mr. Delory, your project is separate from their project.
Yes.
That's correct. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Cole. I'm just wondering why Mr. Desmond wasn't aware of these. His extension is more important too, you know?
I don't know.
The,
I'm not sure.
if I may, I believe it was just this approval was just around the time of Mr. Soper's passing. And there may have been something in the transition that was lost. I honestly don't know.
Well, we understand, and needless to say, he is the responsible party to make sure now for whatever reasons, and I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And at the last meeting also, part of the application, the fact that you needed a special permit was not checked off, or it was checked off that you didn't need it. But I think, Mr. Delory, you pointed out you do need a special permit for down there.
Yes, we do. And you and I actually talked about that, I think, at the last meeting.
Correct. I just want to make sure that that's in your narrative, I mean, in your application, that it was reviewed and changed to reflect the fact that you do need it.
Right. If you recall, I made the point that you're wearing two hats on this. You've got your permit granting authority, which is the special permit to allow the 6 units. And then you've got your site plan review hat on, which is to actually review the way the site is laid out. So it's sort of a dual function, somewhat like we did the gas station, which was around the corner.
On the corner.
In the building that's at the end of Ashland there, that's under construction.
Okay.
Same type of consideration.
Yep.
All right, thank you. This public hearing is still open. Anybody out there in Zoom, YouTube that'd like to comment?
I see nothing in the chat. There are quite a few people on this call whose names I don't recognize. I don't know if they're members of the public.
No, they're actually for the next piece of business, Matt.
Okay. Well, that said, I see no public comment.
Any questions of the board members?
Do we just make it a condition that the brewery works hand in hand with DAG Realty to correct everything down there that needs to be corrected? Does that make sense, Mr. Delory?
That's fine. I will tell you that there's a written lease there that puts this responsibility, but vis-a-vis these two parties on the brewery to do it. But I will make sure that my client stays and make sure that's monitored to do it.
Yeah, it's like the building inspector pointed out, there's Jersey barriers. I was down there all over the place.
Yes.
So you go down there and we have a problem with your client trying to tell the brewery, get the Jersey barriers out of there. So we just
Right.
want to understand, Mr. Kroll, that you guys have to start cooperating with DAG Realty to clean that area up. That's all.
For what it's worth, in the brewery approval, there is an area of the parking lot that is noted as reserved for future development. And this is part of that future development. And those Jersey barriers actually block off the difference between the site plan that you approved and what is slated for future. So all of the parking spaces that were approved for the brewery are there on site. These Jersey barriers do not block any of those parking spaces, to the best of my knowledge, the last time
Okay.
I visited there a few weeks ago. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I can also just say, we had circulated a draft decision in advance of the meeting tonight. Matt had, just in case you were all ready to get near a vote or wanted to be able to discuss that with the applicant. And condition 43 of the draft decision does say that prior to occupancy, I believe the project site needs to be in compliance with the conditions of all the prior approvals. So, I mean, there's more specific language, but it just makes clear that this isn't amending any of the prior approvals, and the site will need to be in compliance with everything.
Well, does that refer though to phase 2 and 3? Because that's anticipated that's going to be in the future.
Well, it specifically says the project site and the use thereof shall be in compliance with all conditions and requirements of the prior decisions, including the special permits and site plan approval issued for the project site and referenced in the findings of fact above, because they're listed. And again, to the extent that something would not yet be due, I think it would be fair to say that it isn't required to be done
Okay.
yet. But to the extent anything is required to be done at the time you're looking for occupancy, that'll need to be done. I mean, I think that's,
Was there an enumeration of exactly what has to be done in phase 1 somewhere? So that, I mean, that would seem to be the thing that's pending now.
yes,
that-
there was,
that-
in the original, in each of the approvals, there was a specific list of phase 1, phase 2.
That's
Okay,
correct. Everything was laid out.
okay, all right. Fair enough.
We ready to move on this?
I will say, I don't know if anyone has questions on the draft decision or if the board wants to add any findings. I think there was just one. Matt, you can tell me, did we clarify that paragraph 32? Is that Bow Street? Should that be? And you clarified the trustee, right? Did you
Yeah, so
confirm?
it reads right now that all newly created access and egress, including at blank, shall be placed under the stop sign control with thermoplastic epoxy painted stop bars. So yeah, Jay didn't give me any info onto that. So where would the stop sign be located? I would defer to the applicant as to which street that would be.
I would say Bow Street, wouldn't you, John?
The traffic is one way off of Bow Street, so I don't know why we would need a stop sign.
Where do you leave the site?
For our portion of the site, you really proceed into the parking lot of the brewery. From the brewery portion of the site, you would leave via Ashland Street.
So is there a need for a stop sign at Ashland Street?
I don't think on our property there is, because our parking lot basically just continues straight into Ashland Street with no cross streets of any manner or intersection.
But I think, to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, I think that because I represented the client doing the building next door, the 52 unit, I think in his approval, there was already a provision that he's repairing Ashland And I think there was a stop sign provision in there, as I recall it. I'd have to look.
Right.
I mean,
But
if
that would be at Ashland and Beecham.
that's correct,
That's right.
yes.
Well, then I guess a stop sign is required somewhere.
Yeah, in the draft conditions, Jay never provided any specificity as to the location.
I mean, should it be? I can't answer that question. I just noticed there was a hole here and thought we should fill it in.
You have Jay on speed dial?
I can give Jay a call. One moment.
Are there any other conditions in the draft decision that anyone has questions about? Or any additional findings the board wanted to add or anything? And then do we have, I wanted to confirm also just the final revision date of the plan. I don't know if the architect can give us that,
I want to say 1/6.
Plan that was submitted is dated 12 February 2021.
and is that with no revisions?
Correct.
Okay, I'll update it in that, the draft then. Thank you. And then is it accurate that Mr. Varadugas, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his last name, is the trustee of the DAG Realty Trust?
Varadakis.
Sorry, Varadakis, and he's the trustee of the DAG Realty Trust?
Actually, I think his daughter is the trustee.
What's her name?
I think his daughter is Denise.
Okay, so we'll just fix that for owner as well.
Sure, thank you.
I think those were, yeah.
I
sorry.
just got off the phone with Jay Monty, our transportation planner. He said that the condition number 32 having to do with the stop sign should just be stricken entirely, that there's no
Okay.
need for a stop sign.
All right, we'll take it up. And the pedestrian crosswalk part, the whole condition, Matt? Okay, all right, we'll take it out.
Can I, Attorney Stein, can I just, can I double check that? I'll have to double check that with my client, because in the past, when he's applied, it's always been Denise Varadakis as trustee of that trust. I just want to make sure it hasn't changed, because I haven't run it forward.
Sure, even if you can just let Matt know tomorrow, and then we'll,
I will.
if the board votes tonight, we'll correct it or update it, but
Okay.
should be accurate.
Any questions, comments of the board? Nothing out there in Zoom?
Not that I see.
Then we shall proceed, please.
You're looking for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Fine. Now I make a motion for favorable action, the site plan review and special permit for 141, 151 Bow Street with all prior and present conditions.
Second the motion.
A motion has been made for approval of 141, 151 Bow Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
A special permit and site plan review with the conditions prior and the conditions now that are required. Is
And
that
that'll,
correct?
just to clarify, that'll be consistent with the draft circulated to you with the one change we discussed tonight.
Correct.
Consistent with the draft that was circulated. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Phil Mastrocola,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, it has passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next order.
Next order of business, Mr. Chairman, is item number 1 under new business. This is for site plan review for 319 Broadway, which is a proposal to raise an existing single-family dwelling with large detached garage and construct a 5-story residential building consisting of 20 one-bedroom units, 3 of which will be designated as affordable units. The area of the subject lot is 7,180 square feet and is designated as assessor's parcel number K0-0000107. Before we proceed, I do want to make the board aware. I spoke with the attorney Delory prior to this. The circulation notice went out correctly. The mailing notices did not go out correctly. Therefore, this meeting today would be limited to simply an informal presentation by the applicant for the project and a vote for peer review. Beyond that, there can be no substantive vote actually taken as to the site plan review.
Thank you.
Will the public be able to comment?
This is not a public hearing. The
No,
public
it's not
hearing will
tonight.
be open here.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Is the proponent here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Attorney Paul Delory. I'm representing the applicants, Gabe and Alex Silva. We have other members of the team here tonight. We have Michael Touchette, who is the contractor and the builder, Michael McKeon, who's the architect, and John Barrows, who's the site engineer. I would be happy to just tell the board generally what the project is about, but I, with all due respect, I don't want to do it twice. I'd prefer to wait and then do it at the public hearing. But I can tell you generally that this is an old home. It was the original funeral home of Rocco family. It was purchased by my clients last year. It's in very bad condition. It's really kind of falling apart. It's a long, narrow lot. It's not an easy lot to construct on. And the proposal is to take that building down and then to build a 5-story, 20-unit building. All of the units will be 1 bedroom. They'll all be approximately 700 square feet. It'll be a podium style building so that there'll be parking below the building. There'll be 8 parking spaces, including 1 handicap space. 6 of those spaces will be covered. 2 will be out towards the outside behind the building. And again, this is, this would be something that we're starting at this board and we'll need some zoning relief. We have to go back in front of the ZBA. We started this process under, God rest his soul, Jim Soper, and we actually had a fairly comprehensive meeting. Several of the department heads, Jim Soper and Tony Souza at the time. And, we went over all of the guidelines and what we proposed to do. It was very favorably received. Unfortunately, those people are not with us for one reason or the other. That's why we've come to the planning board first, because if you recall, Jim said he wanted to start into the planning board and then go to the ZBA, whereas I believe it's gone back to the older method now, the ZBA and then the planning board. But we would be in front of you for site plan review. 3 of these units would be affordable. Out of the 20, there'd be 3 affordable units under the affordable ordinance. And in fact, we had hoped to bring that special permit for the affordable units home together at the same time. We're working with Metro West Housing, which we've done in the past, and they'll be the agency that will do the affordable units. So perhaps, if this is put over to the next meeting, we may be able to actually bring that forward and do it at the same time. But that's the general, gist of it. We have submitted plans, which I assume all of you had a chance to read. It's a very attractive building, a lot of glass in the front, kind of a nice gateway building as you come around Sweetser Circle and enter Broadway. And the ingress and egress will be onto Broadway with a retractable gate. And of course, it's right on the MBTA reserve bus line. All of the units will be separately metered. The architect has, just in anticipation of what I know the board likes in these buildings, it is going to comply with the building standards. There'll be 20% masonry on the front. There'll be upper levels will be a combination of different paneling. And the architect has left that kind of flexible so that if you decide that you'd rather have one type of paneling than another, that can be done. Also, the snow removal site will be on site, and the building itself will comply. It'll be 65 feet, but it's just that it'll be a 5th story. So that's the only variance in addition to the FAR that they need, and the parking, 3 variances to do this. But we think it's an exciting project, and I'll be happy to go over it more in detail with you at a public hearing. But that'll give you the flavor for what it's about.
Thank you, Mr. Delory. Any questions of the board?
Questions or comments?
Either.
Either? Well,
Well, we
quickly.
don't have a public hearing right now, Leo.
Yeah,
so-
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So I think we should hold off on your comments and
I do too. Yep.
until
But I'm
we
just
do have the
saying,
public hearing.
Just they're here. You could, if we were allowed to make some comments, so when they do come back, it's going to reduce the time frame. That's all. But if we can't, not a problem.
We prefer not.
Okay, that's fine then.
At this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
Can I just ask before you do that? I think Matt wanted to discuss potential peer review funds.
Oh,
So,
that's correct.
Maybe they could get started even before the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. I spoke with our team here. Julius is quite confident that he and his team will be able to handle all engineering, stormwater stuff internally. Jay feels the same in terms of transportation, traffic. So there would need to be no civil engineering, transportation peer reviewers. The only 53G account peer review kind of thing would be for legal. So for KP Law to assist me in writing some stuff, researching some stuff. So yeah, it would be significantly smaller than, some of the larger projects where we do have, multiple consultants working with us through peer review. This would just be for the legal portion. Maybe Robin, if you wanted to suggest a number, knowing that anything unspent would be returned to the applicant.
I mean, I can't really guess at it, but I think on Bow Street where we had the same feeling, took 5,000. So I don't know how the applicant feels about that, but it seems like that's what we've been doing when you think you can do most of the stuff in-house. That way you'll have a cushion in case something pops up as well.
Is that okay, Mr. Delory?
I haven't had a chance to talk to my client, but could we just sort of put it in as a placeholder, and then I can call Matt tomorrow after I had a chance to talk to my client offline?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're not going to need, a ton of civil and what have you that you want to get started on in the meantime, you probably could vote
Okay.
it at the next meeting anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I'll talk to my clients. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, but I'm spending their money, so I feel pretty happy about that. But I think that we'll talk offline, and I'll get right back to Matt on that.
Thank you. Hearing what we've just heard, any questions, comments, or any motions?
Well, since there's not a public hearing, do we need to make motions?
For
I do
continuance?
I do recommend the continuance because the newspaper posting holds and the internal posting, it's just the abutters notices that are being redone. So to keep that continuity, I do recommend that you vote the time, place, and date continuance.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion for continuance of site plan review and special permit for 39 Broadway to March 22nd, 7 o'clock via Zoom.
Second the motion.
A motion has been made and seconded to continue 319 Broadway for site plan review and special permit until March 22nd, 2021, 7 p.m. via Zoom. Roll call vote, please.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Phil Mastrocola,
yes,
and Chairman Capasso.
Yes. Motion is passed for continuance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you, Attorney Stein.
Thank you.
Next order.
Next order of business, Mr. Chairman, is the approval of meeting minutes. I don't know, did Jeannie Vidakevich, did you circulate some?
You did?
I have the couple of months,
Yeah, I have
couple of
some.
meetings.
Yeah.
October 13 and January 11.
That's the ones I have.
Yep.
Any questions about the minutes?
Nope.
The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of the planning board meetings as of January 11, 2021 and October 13, 2020.
Second motion.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes for October 13, 2020 for the planning board and January 11, 2021 for the planning board. Roll call vote, please.
Leo Pisano,
Yes,
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Phil Mastrocola,
yes,
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes. The minutes have been approved. Next,
quick question,
What's that?
quick question.
Yes.
I thought we were reversing the order. We went over it as far as the ZBA, planning board, ZBA. Now we're first, they're second. But the last time we talked, a few meetings ago, that was going to be reversed.
There was talk that there was talk of that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I brought it up to the board to kind of gauge your ability to do that. And I can say that the administration, I believe, is heading in that direction. So you'll be hearing from me when I get a final yay or nay. But I at first just wanted to gauge your ability as a board to change.
didn't we also discuss the fact that it would be up to the applicant as well?
For
Which
that,
way they wanted to proceed?
so maybe I misunderstood Mr. Pisano there. So there are two separate conversations. The first dealing with switching the schedules of the ZBA and the planning board in that, we are the second and fourth Mondays at 7 p.m. The ZBA is the first and third, to just switch the two because many people would like to attend both city council meetings and planning board meetings, but they run at the same time. So that was one conversation. The second conversation was, yes, to give the applicant the choice between appearing before the planning board first or the ZBA first. That there's nothing codified that would preclude an applicant from going forth to the ZBA first. I do know that, we had obviously internally discussed that all matters go before planning first, before going to ZBA. However, because nothing was codified, there actually doesn't need to be a true voted upon change. That's just kind of an internal decision made. And we are doing that the applicant would have the choice to appear before the ZBA first versus the planning board first.
Thank you. I know there was some discussion.
There was, yeah. Now, the next piece is kind of an education of the planning board, or the zoning board members, that they know that they could hire peer reviewers, for example, that, they're not approving variances and then dumping it on you guys to do all, a bunch of legwork.
Are we still
Fine.
going to make recommendations to them? Should
Well,
we
can
come
I just-
before them?
Can I just jump in for 1 second? I think we had a brief conversation about this and discussed that if we wanted to put it on an agenda for planning board discussion in the future to make a formal recommendation or really talk through the process, we could do that. But given the input in the process last time, I do think that it's something that should be on an agenda. So to the extent that folks want to have input, they know it's going to be discussed and talked about. Certainly put it on for the next meeting.
I think something's got to get put on, because why would an applicant want to come, just curiosity, why would an applicant get to have a choice? It doesn't seem to make sense. It's one or the other, either come before us, or come before the ZBA, one or the other. And if you say, oh, no, they should have a choice, I'd like to have it explained to me, why would an applicant choose one way or the other? That's all. And does it?
I think Matt and I can put our heads together and put it on for the next meeting and be prepared to
Fine.
answer all your questions.
Fine, yep, okay.
Any other agendas tonight, Mr. Latanzi?
That is it for the agenda. We've come to the end.
Well, then the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
A motion is made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote, please.
Leo Pisano,
Yes.
Michael O'Connor,
Yes.
George D'Angelo,
Yes.
Phil Mastrocola,
Yes.
and Chairman Cafaso.
Yes, I have one question, Matt.
Yes,
I've signed the approval of the minutes. Would you like me just to fax it to you?
you can do that. I don't think we need a wet signature or anything, so.
You don't need? Oh. I'll fax it to you if it's okay.
Yeah,
All right, just give me the fax number.
all right. That might take a while.
Jeannie, give it to me.
It's called a carrier pigeon.
Morse code.
Whatever.
Pony
Let me know.
Express.
I can deliver it to whatever you want.
All right. If you wouldn't mind delivering it, I think that would probably get here more reliably.
Okay. All right, all you need is the last page,
Yep,
correct?
yes.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
And Matt, can we get all the comments previous to the meetings from the department